What would you do if you discovered the person you trusted most was capable of murder? The sound of splashing water mixed with screaming tore through the afternoon air like a knife through silk. Kofi stood frozen at the edge of his family's estate, his Italian leather shoes sinking into the soft red earth, watching a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life. His wife Amara, the woman he'd married 3 years ago in a ceremony that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime, had her hands pressed firmly against his mother's back. Mama Essie teetered at the very edge of the crocodile lake, her arms windmilling desperately as she tried to keep her balance. Below them, in the murky green water, massive shapes moved with ancient patience. "Amara, what are you doing?" Kofi's voice came out as barely more than a whisper. Though his mind was screaming, his wife's head snapped around. For one terrible moment, their eyes met. He saw something in her face he'd never seen before. Not love, not the sweet woman who made him breakfast every Sunday, not the caring daughter-in-law who visited his mother every week with gifts and kind words. What he saw was something cold, something calculated, something that looked almost like satisfaction. Then everything happened at once. Mama Isie's foot slipped on the muddy bank. She let out a sharp cry, her body tilting backward toward the water. Amara's hands were still on her back, but instead of pulling her mother-in-law to safety, she seemed to be pushing. Kofi broke from his paralysis and sprinted forward, his designer suit jacket flying behind him like a cape. His heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought they might crack. "Mother!" he shouted, diving forward with his arm outstretched. His fingers caught Mama Essie's wrist just as she went over the edge. The weight of her body nearly pulled him into the lake too. He dug his feet into the soft earth, feeling his expensive shoes fill with mud, and held on with everything he had. Below them, the water erupted. A massive crocodile, at least 15 feet long, surged upward with its jaws open wide enough to swallow a grown man whole. The stench of rotting meat and stagnant water hit Kofi's face like a physical blow. "Pull, baby! Pull me up!" Mama Essie screamed, her legs kicking above the water, inches from those terrible jaws. Kofi pulled with strength he didn't know he possessed. His muscles burned. His grip on his mother's wrist was so tight he knew he was bruising her, but he couldn't afford to loosen his hold even slightly. With one final desperate heave, he yanked her up onto the bank. They both collapsed in the mud, gasping for air like fish pulled from the very lake that had nearly claimed them. The crocodile splashed back into the water, disappointed but patient. It would wait. It always did. Kofi looked up at his wife from where he lay in the mud, cradling his sobbing mother. Amara stood perfectly still, her expensive silk dress spotless, her face now arranged in an expression of shock and concern that looked as fake as a $3 bill. "Oh my God," she said, her hand flying to her mouth. "I tried to catch her, Kofi. She slipped. It happened so fast. Thank God you got here when you did." But Kofi had seen what he'd seen. His wife's hands hadn't been trying to catch his mother. They'd been pushing her, and the look on Amara's face before she knew he was watching hadn't been concern. It had been something else entirely. "What were you two doing out here?" Kofi asked, his voice dangerously quiet. He helped his mother to her feet, keeping himself between her and Amara. "I was just showing Mama Essie the new landscaping by the lake," Amara said smoothly. "She wanted to see how the gardeners had arranged the flowers. She got too close to the edge, and before I could stop her, she slipped. You know how the ground gets after the rains?" It was a perfect explanation, reasonable, logical, exactly the kind of story that would satisfy the police if they were called. Exactly the kind of story that would make Kofi look paranoid if he suggested otherwise. Except for one problem. It hadn't rained in 3 weeks. The ground was dry everywhere on the estate, everywhere except right here at the edge of the Crocodile Lake, where someone had clearly poured water to make it slippery. And Kofi's mother hated the lake. Everyone in the family knew it. She never went near it. She'd been terrified of crocodiles ever since her own mother had been killed by one when she was a child. His mother would never have come here willingly, which meant his wife was lying, which meant his wife had deliberately lured his mother to the most dangerous spot on the entire estate, which meant his wife had just tried to murder his mother and make it look like an accident. But why? Mama Essie clutched Kofi's arm, her whole body shaking. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Her eyes darted to Amara, then back to her son, filled with something that looked like fear. Not fear of the crocodiles. Fear of the woman who just tried to kill her. "Let's get you inside, Mother," Kofi said, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. "You need to rest after that shock." As they walked back toward the main house, Kofi glanced over his shoulder. Amara stood by the lake watching them go. The afternoon sun caught her face at just the right angle, and for a moment she looked like a completely different person, a stranger wearing his wife's face. She smiled. It was the smile of someone who'd just gotten away with something, or someone who thought they had. What Kofi didn't know yet was that this was only the beginning. The truth about why his wife wanted his mother dead was darker and more twisted than he could possibly imagine, and discovering it would cost him everything he thought he knew about the woman he'd promised to love, until death did them part. That death part might come sooner than he'd planned. If you're already hooked by this shocking story, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel, because this tale is about to get even more intense. What would you do if you caught your spouse trying to harm your parent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video with anyone who loves a good mystery. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The main house loomed before them like a monument to everything Kofi had built. 3 stories of white stone and dark wood, with tall windows that caught the afternoon sun and threw it back in blinding flashes. He designed it himself 5 years ago, back when he was still an architect with dreams instead of a billionaire with problems. Back when he thought success meant safety. Back when he believed money could protect the people you loved. He'd been wrong about a lot of things. Kofi helped his mother up the marble steps and through the heavy front doors. The air conditioning hit them like a cool wave, and Mama Isi shivered. Her clothes were covered in mud and lake water. Her head wrap, usually so perfectly arranged, hung askew. But it was her eyes that worried Kofi most. They looked distant, haunted, like she was seeing something terrible that only she could witness. "Mother, talk to me," Kofi said as he guided her to the cream-colored sofa in the living room. "What happened out there? Why were you at the lake with Amara?" Mama Isi's mouth opened, then closed. Her hands twisted in her lap, wringing the fabric of her wet dress. She glanced toward the doorway where Amara had just entered, moving with the fluid grace of a cat stalking its prey. "I'll get some towel," Amara said, her voice dripping with false concern. "And maybe some hot tea for the shock. Poor Mama Isi must be so frightened." She disappeared down the hallway, her heels clicking against the marble floors like a countdown clock. The moment she was gone, Mama Isi grabbed Kofi's hand with surprising strength. Her fingers dug into his wrist like claws. "She tried to kill me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Your wife tried to kill me. Kofi, this wasn't the first time." The words hit Kofi like a physical blow. "What do you mean, not the first time?" 3 weeks ago, I found rat poison in my soup. I thought maybe the cook had made a mistake, that some pest control chemicals had gotten into the kitchen somehow. I didn't eat it. I felt sick just from the smell." Mama Essie's voice shook. 2 weeks ago, the brakes on my car failed. The mechanic said someone had cut the brake line, but I thought maybe it was just old age, wear and tear. I didn't want to believe. Why didn't you tell me?" Kofi felt his world tilting sideways. Everything he thought he knew was rearranging itself into a new, terrifying pattern. "Because I wasn't sure. Because she's your wife. Because you love her." Tears streamed down Mama Essie's weathered face. "Because what kind of mother accuses her son's wife of trying to murder her without proof? You would have thought I was crazy. You would have thought I was jealous, that I couldn't accept you'd chosen a woman over your mother." Kofi wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. His mother was right. If she'd come to him 3 weeks ago with accusations against Amara, he would have dismissed her concerns. He would have chalked it up to the tension that sometimes existed between mothers and wives. He would have told her she was imagining things, but he'd seen Amara's hands on his mother's back. He'd seen the look on his wife's face before she knew he was watching. He'd seen the calculation, the coldness, the satisfaction. "Why would she want to kill you?" Kofi asked, though part of him didn't want to know the answer. Some truths were too terrible to face. Mama Isi's eyes filled with fresh tears. Because I found out her secret, the real reason she married you. Before she could continue, Amara returned carrying a tray with towels and a steaming teapot. She set it down on the coffee table with a gentle clink of porcelain. Her movements were graceful, practiced, perfect. Everything about her was perfect. Her smooth, dark skin that glowed like polished mahogany. Her long braids that fell past her shoulders like a waterfall of black silk. Her figure that turned heads everywhere they went. Her smile that had made Kofi fall in love with her in the first place. But now that smile looked like a mask, and Kofi found himself wondering what lurked behind it. "Here we are," Amara said, pouring tea into delicate cups. "Chamomile for calm. You'll feel better soon, Mama Essie. That was such a terrible accident. You really should be more careful around the lake." The word accident hung in the air like a threat. Mama Essie took the cup with trembling hands but didn't drink. Her eyes stayed locked on the tea like it might contain poison, probably because it might. Kofi's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and glanced at the screen. It was a message from his business partner, Marcus. "Emergency at the Lagos office. The minister is here and asking questions about the construction permits. Need you ASAP." Perfect timing. Kofi had just returned from a 3-month business trip to oversee their company's expansion into West Africa. He'd been gone so long that he'd started to forget what home felt like. He'd rushed back early because something in his mother's voice during their last phone call had worried him. She'd sounded afraid, though she'd insisted everything was fine. Now he knew his instincts had been right. His mother had been in danger the whole time he was gone, and his wife had been the one threatening her. "I have to go handle something at the office," Kofi said, standing up. He couldn't leave his mother alone with Amara, but he also couldn't let on that he suspected anything. Not yet. Not until he knew more. "Mother, why don't you come with me? You can rest in my office while I handle this meeting." Amara's smile never wavered, but something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment, frustration. "Oh, that's not necessary, darling. Mama Isi needs to rest here at home. I'll take good care of her. Won't I, Mama?" It wasn't a question. It was a warning. "Actually, I'd feel better if she came with me," Kofi said firmly. "After such a shock, I don't want to leave her alone. You understand, don't you, my love?" For just a moment, Amara's perfect mask slipped. Her eyes went cold and hard as diamonds. Then the warmth flooded back, and she was his loving wife again. "Of course. Whatever makes you both comfortable. I'll be here when you get back. We can have dinner together. As a family." The way she said family made Kofi's skin crawl. He helped his mother to her feet and guided her toward the door. As they left, he glanced back. Amara stood in the middle of their beautiful living room, surrounded by all the luxury his money had bought, holding that cup of tea. She raised it to her lips and took a slow sip, her eyes never leaving his. It was a message, a challenge. She knew that he knew, and she didn't care. In the car, with his driver pulling away from the estate, Kofi finally felt like he could breathe again. "Tell me everything," he said to his mother. "What secret did you find out about Amara?" Mama Essie reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Her hand still shook as she handed it to him. "2 days ago, I went to your study looking for a book. I found this hidden in her personal desk drawer. I wasn't snooping, I swear. The drawer was stuck, and when I tried to close it, this fell out from behind." Kofi unfolded the paper. It was a birth certificate for a child. A boy named Emmanuel, born 6 years ago. The mother's name on the certificate was Amara Okafor, his wife's maiden name. His wife had a 6-year-old son that Kofi had never known about. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the father's name listed on the certificate, Chidi Adeyemi, Kofi's older brother, the brother who had died in a car accident 7 years ago, the brother whose death had devastated their family and left Kofi as the sole heir to their father's fortune, the brother whose accident had never quite made sense. "She was pregnant when Chidi died," Mama Essie whispered. "She was his girlfriend. They were planning to get married. Then he died and she disappeared. We never heard from her again. Until 3 years ago, when she walked into your life at that charity gala. You thought it was fate. You thought it was love at first sight. You thought she didn't know who you were. That she'd fallen for you naturally." Kofi's mind reeled. "She targeted me. She knew exactly who I was. She planned the whole thing. Yes, Mama Isi's voice broke. And I think she knows I figured it out. That's why she's trying to kill me. Because once you know the truth, everything falls apart for her. But why? If she loved my brother, if she had his child, why didn't she come to us after he died? We would have helped her. We would have supported them both. Because your brother changed his will right before he died, Mama Essie said quietly. I found the papers in the lawyer's files. He was going to leave her nothing. He found out something about her, something that made him cut her out completely. I don't know what it was, but I think she knows I'm looking for that information. And I think that's why she wants me dead before I can find it. The car turned onto the highway, heading back to Lagos. Kofi stared out the window at the landscape rushing by, his thoughts racing even faster. His wife was a stranger. His marriage was a lie. His mother was in danger. And his brother's death, which he'd mourned for 7 years, might not have been an accident at all. Where is the child now? Kofi asked. Where is Emmanuel? I don't know. I've been trying to find out. But Amara doesn't know I have this certificate. I made a copy and put the original back. She can't know we're on to her, Kofi. Not yet. If she realizes we know, she'll disappear. Or worse. Or worse. The words hung in the air like smoke. Kofi's phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. Never mind the emergency. Minister left. False alarm. But we need to talk about something else. Call me. Then another message immediately after. It's about your wife. Kofi's blood ran cold. What else do you know about Amara? He asked his mother. What aren't you telling me? Mama Isi looked at him with eyes full of sorrow and fear. I think she killed your brother, Kofi. I think she murdered Chidi. And I think you're next. Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted was living a complete lie? What would you do if you found out your marriage was built on deception and possibly murder? Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you're as shocked as we are by these revelations, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because this story is about to get even darker. The Lagos office of Adeyemi Enterprises occupied the top 3 floors of the tallest building in Victoria Island. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the Atlantic Ocean stretching to the horizon, dark blue water meeting lighter blue sky. Kofi had always found the view calming. Today it just reminded him how deep and unknowable the world really was. How many secrets could hide beneath a beautiful surface? Marcus was waiting in Kofi's private office when they arrived. He was a short, stocky man with graying temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He'd been Kofi's business partner for 10 years and his friend for 15. If anyone could help Kofi navigate this nightmare, it was Marcus. Mama Isi, Marcus said, rising from his chair with genuine concern. I heard about the incident at the lake Are you all right? So word had already spread. Kofi wondered how. They'd come straight from the estate. Had Amara called someone? Was she already constructing her version of events, building her narrative before Kofi could build his? I'm alive thanks to my son, Mama Isi said quietly. She settled into one of the leather chairs by the window, exhaustion evident in every line of her body. Marcus waited until she was comfortable, then turned to Kofi. We need to talk, privately. They moved to the small conference room attached to Kofi's office. Through the glass wall, Kofi could still see his mother, could still keep her safe. He wasn't letting her out of his sight until he understood what was really happening. What do you know about my wife? Kofi asked, closing the door. Marcus pulled out his tablet and swiped through several screens. You remember last month when you asked me to review the household accounts? You said some numbers weren't adding up. Kofi nodded. He'd noticed small discrepancies. Nothing major, just odd transfers here and there. Money moving in ways that didn't quite make sense. He'd mentioned it to Marcus casually, not thinking much of it. I dug deeper, Marcus continued. Kofi, your wife has been systematically moving money out of your joint accounts into offshore accounts. Small amounts, spread out over 2 years. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Never enough to trigger alerts, but it adds up. She's moved almost $3 million. The number hit Kofi like a punch to the gut. $3 million, stolen slowly, carefully, by the woman who slept beside him every night. There's more, Marcus said, his expression grim. I hired a private investigator. Don't be angry. I had a bad feeling, and I needed to know if my instincts were right. Kofi, your wife has another identity. She's been living a double life. He turned the tablet around. On the screen was a photo of Amara, but she looked different. Her hair was cut short. She wore glasses. She was dressed in jeans and a simple t-shirt, nothing like the designer clothes she wore as Kofi's wife. She was holding the hand of a small boy, maybe 5 or 6 years old. The boy had Chidi's eyes. Kofi would recognize those eyes anywhere. They were the same eyes that stared back at him from family photos, from his own memories of the brother he'd loved and lost. That's Emmanuel, Kofi whispered. My brother's son. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. You know about the child? I just found out an hour ago. Kofi sank into one of the conference room chairs. What else did your investigator find? She has an apartment in Lekki, on the other side of the city. She goes there at least twice a week, tells you she's visiting friends or shopping or at the spa. The boy lives there with a nanny. Amara supports them with the money she's been stealing from you. Marcus paused. But there's something else. Something worse. Kofi didn't think anything could be worse than what he'd already learned. He was wrong. Marcus pulled up another photo. This one showed Amara sitting in a restaurant with a man Kofi didn't recognize. The man was tall, light-skinned, wearing an expensive suit. They were leaning close together, intimate. The photo was dated 3 weeks ago while Kofi had been in West Africa. His name is David Okolia, Marcus said. He's a lawyer, and according to my investigator, he's been seeing Amara for at least a year, maybe longer. A lover. His wife had a lover. On top of everything else, she'd been cheating on him. Kofi felt something break inside him, some last piece of hope that maybe this was all a misunderstanding, that maybe there was an explanation that would make sense of everything. There was no explanation that could make sense of this. The investigator followed her to David's house last week, Marcus continued. She spent the night. Kofi, I'm sorry. I know this is a lot to take in. Did your investigator find anything about my brother's death? Kofi asked. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, flat and emotionless. He was going numb, shutting down to protect himself from the avalanche of betrayal. Marcus hesitated. Not directly, but there's something odd. David Okolie worked at the insurance company that paid out on your brother's life insurance policy. He was the one who processed the claim. And get this, the policy was taken out just 2 months before Chidi died. A $5 million policy with Amara listed as the beneficiary. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture so ugly Kofi wanted to look away. She took out a life insurance policy on my brother. 2 months later, he died in a car accident that was never properly investigated. Then she collected $5 million and disappeared. Until 3 years ago, when she reappeared in your life, Marcus finished. Kofi, I think she's doing it again. I think she's planning to kill you and collect on your life insurance. You're worth a lot more than your brother was. If you died, she'd inherit everything as your wife. And I checked, she took out a new policy on you 6 months ago. $10 million. You signed the papers, remember? She said it was just being practical, making sure she'd be taken care of if anything happened to you. Kofi remembered. He'd signed without really looking at the papers. Why wouldn't he? She was his wife. He trusted her. He loved her. He'd been such a fool. So the whole marriage was a con, Kofi said slowly. She married me to gain access to my money, to position herself to inherit my fortune when I died. Just like she did with my brother. It looks that way. Marcus leaned forward. Kofi, you need to go to the police. This is attempted murder. Multiple attempted murders. She tried to kill your mother today. She probably killed your brother 7 years ago. You have evidence now. The money transfers, the secret life, the suspicious insurance policies. But Kofi was shaking his head. It's not enough. Not yet. Everything we have is circumstantial. A good lawyer could explain it all away. The money transfers? She'll say she was saving for a surprise or investing in something she wanted to keep secret. The child? She'll say she was ashamed to tell me, afraid I'd reject her. The apartment? Same thing. The boyfriend? She'll deny it, say they're just friends. The insurance policies? Those are legal. People take them out all the time. What about your mother? She nearly died today. Amara pushed her. My mother's word against hers. No witnesses except me. And I arrived at the last second. I didn't actually see the push start, just the end of it. Amara will say my mother slipped, that she was trying to help. Without proof, it becomes a he said, she said situation. And my wife is a very convincing liar. Marcus slumped in his chair. So what do you do? Just wait for her to try again? Wait for her to succeed in killing you? Or your mother? No, Kofi said, an idea forming in his mind. It was risky, it was possibly stupid, but it was the only way he could see to get the proof he needed. I'm going to give her exactly what she wants. I'm going to make her think she's won. And when she makes her move, when she tries to kill me, I'll be ready. We'll catch her in the act. We'll get everything on camera. Evidence so clear that no lawyer in the world could explain it away. That's insane, Marcus said flatly. You're talking about using yourself as bait. Do you have a better idea? Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have a better idea. Neither did Kofi, really. But what choice did he have? His mother's life was in danger. His own life was in danger. And Amara had already gotten away with one murder. He couldn't let her get away with another. I'll need your help, Kofi said, and I'll need to hire some serious security. People who can watch me and my mother without Amara knowing. People who can document everything she does. I know a firm, Marcus said reluctantly. Former military, very discreet. They handle corporate espionage cases, witness protection, that kind of thing. They're expensive, but they're good. Money isn't an issue. Set it up, today. Kofi stood and walked back into his office where his mother waited. She looked small and fragile in the big leather chair, staring out at the ocean. She'd always seemed so strong to him, so unbreakable. Seeing her like this, vulnerable and afraid, made something fierce and protective rise up in Kofi's chest. His mother had given him everything. She'd raised him and Chidi alone after their father died when Kofi was just 10 years old. She'd worked 3 jobs to keep them fed and clothed and in good schools. She'd never remarried, never put anyone before her sons. Everything she'd done, every sacrifice she'd made, had been for them. And now her life was in danger because she'd tried to protect him from a woman who wanted to destroy their family. Kofi knelt beside his mother's chair. I'm going to fix this, Mama. I promise. She's not going to hurt you. She's not going to hurt anyone ever again. Mama Essie touched his face gently. Be careful, my son. That woman is dangerous. More dangerous than you know. What do you mean? His mother's eyes filled with an old fear. When I was searching for information about her, I found something else. Something I didn't understand at first. But now I think I do. She pulled out her phone and showed him a news article from 8 years ago. The headline read, Local man dies in mysterious house fire. The man's name was Kenneth Okonkwo. He'd been a successful businessman, 45 years old, married for 2 years. He died when his house burned down while he slept. The fire had been ruled accidental, caused by faulty wiring. Look at the photo of his wife, Mama Isi said. Kofi zoomed in on the grainy newspaper photo, the widow standing beside the burned ruins of her home, her face carefully composed in grief. It was Amara, younger with a different hairstyle, but unmistakably her. She's done this before, Kofi breathed. She married this man, killed him, inherited his money and moved on. Then she did it to Chidi, and now she's trying to do it to me. She's a black widow, Marcus said from the doorway. He'd followed Kofi out of the conference room and was staring at the phone screen. She marries wealthy men, kills them, takes their money, and disappears. Then she reinvents herself and does it again. How many times has she done this? How many men have died because of her? The question hung in the air, unanswered and terrifying. Kofi's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. It was Amara. Answer it, Marcus said. Act normal. Don't let her know you suspect anything. Kofi took a deep breath and answered. Hello, my love. Kofi, darling, where are you? Amara's voice was honey-sweet, concerned. You've been gone for hours. I'm worried. Is everything all right with Mama Essie? Everything's fine. We're just finishing up at the office. We'll be home soon. Oh, good. I've prepared your favorite dinner, jollof rice with plantains and grilled fish, and I have a surprise for you. Something special to celebrate you being home after all those months away. A surprise. The words made Kofi's blood run cold. That sounds wonderful. We'll be home in an hour. I can't wait to see you, my husband. I've missed you so much. These 3 months without you felt like forever. I love you. I love you too, Kofi said automatically. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. He hung up and looked at Marcus and his mother. She's planning something for tonight. She said she has a surprise. Then tonight is when she makes her move, Marcus said. We need to get that security team in place now. And Kofi, maybe you shouldn't go home. Maybe you should take your mother and disappear until we can figure out a safer way to handle this. But Kofi was already shaking his head. If I run, she'll know I'm on to her. She'll disappear just like she did after Chidi died. She'll reinvent herself again, find another victim, and keep killing. I have to end this, tonight. Then we do it smart, Marcus said firmly. No heroics, no taking unnecessary risks. We wire you for audio and video. We have people in position around the house. At the first sign of real danger, they move in. Agreed? Agreed. But as Kofi said the word, he wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. Amara had killed at least 3 men that they knew of, maybe more. She was smart, careful, and utterly ruthless. Going home tonight felt like walking into a trap, but sometimes the only way to catch a predator was to let it think it had caught you first. What would you do if you discovered your spouse was a serial killer? Would you confront them, run away, or try to trap them like Kofi is planning? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're on the edge of your seat right now, hit that like button and subscribe. Share this video with someone who loves psychological thrillers. Trust me, they'll thank you later. The security team arrived at Marcus's office within 30 minutes. They were exactly what Kofi had expected. Professional, efficient, and intimidating. The team leader was a woman named Zainab, tall and lean with sharp eyes that assessed everything in the room within seconds of entering. She'd served in the Nigerian military for 15 years before starting her private security firm. Mr. Adeyemi, she said, shaking Kofi's hand with a grip like iron. Marcus briefed me on the situation. We'll need to move fast if you're going home tonight. She opened a sleek black case and pulled out equipment that looked like something from a spy movie. Tiny cameras no bigger than a button. A microphone that could be hidden in a watch or a piece of jewelry. Recording devices so small they could fit inside a pen. We'll wire the house first, Zainab explained. My team is already en route to your estate. They'll pose as telephone repair workers. Your wife won't suspect anything. We'll place cameras in every room, focused especially on the kitchen, dining room, and bedroom. Anywhere she might try something. What about protecting my mother? Kofi asked. That was his primary concern. If Amara realized her plan was falling apart, she might go after the easier target first. Your mother will stay here, Zainab said firmly. This building has excellent security, and I'll station 2 of my people outside this office. No one gets to her without going through them first. Mama Essie started to protest, but Kofi cut her off gently. Please, Mama, I need to know you're safe. I can't focus on dealing with Amara if I'm worried about you. His mother finally nodded, though her eyes were filled with worry. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't take any unnecessary risks. I promise. Kofi kissed her forehead, wondering if it might be the last time. He pushed the thought away. He couldn't afford to think like that. Zainab fitted Kofi with a wire so sophisticated it was completely invisible once in place. The microphone was embedded in his shirt button. A tiny camera was built into his watch face. Everything would record to a secure server that Zainab's team could access remotely. If at any point you feel you're in immediate danger, Zainab instructed, say the code word malaria. My team will be inside the house within 30 seconds. We'll have people stationed around the perimeter, in the trees, near the service entrance, everywhere. You won't see them, but they'll see everything. Kofi nodded, his mouth dry. This was really happening. He was going home to have dinner with a woman who wanted him dead, a woman who had probably killed his brother, a woman who was capable of murder and had gotten away with it multiple times. One more thing, Zainab said. She pulled out a small vial from her case. This is a fast-acting emetic. If she puts anything in your food or drink, if you suspect poison, take this immediately. It will make you vomit within seconds, purge whatever toxin is in your system. Keep it in your pocket at all times. The drive back to the estate felt both too long and too short. Kofi's mind raced with possibilities, with scenarios, with fears. What would Amara do? How would she try to kill him? Poison seemed most likely. It was clean, hard to trace if done right, and could be made to look natural. A heart attack, an allergic reaction, a tragic accident. Just like his brother's car crash had been a tragic accident. The gates of his estate swung open as his car approached. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that reminded Kofi of fire, of the house fire that had killed Kenneth Okonkwo 8 years ago. He wondered if that man had suspected anything before he died. Had he known his wife was planning to murder him? Or had he gone to sleep that night thinking everything was fine, never knowing those would be his last moments? The main house glowed with warm light from every window. It looked beautiful, welcoming, safe, but Kofi knew better now. Beauty was just another mask, just another lie. He could see Amara through the dining room window, setting the table. She'd changed into a red dress that hugged her curves perfectly. Her braids were swept up in an elegant style. She looked like a woman preparing a romantic dinner for her husband, not a murderer preparing to kill her next victim. Kofi took a deep breath and got out of the car. He touched the vial in his pocket, feeling its reassuring weight. Then he walked through his front door. "Darling!" Amara rushed to him, throwing her arms around his neck and kissing him deeply. She smelled like jasmine, an expensive perfume. Her body pressed against his in a way that once would have made his heart race with desire. Now it just made him feel sick. "I missed you so much. 3 months is too long. Promise me you'll never leave me alone that long again." "I promise," Kofi said, the lie smooth on his tongue. He was learning, becoming a liar just like her. "Where's Mama Isi?" Amara asked, pulling back to look around. "I set a place for her at dinner." "She decided to stay in the city tonight. She has an early appointment with her doctor tomorrow. Something about tests. She didn't want to make the drive back and forth." Another lie falling easily from Kofi's lips. For just a moment, something flickered across Amara's face. Disappointment, frustration. Then her smile was back, bright and perfect. "Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping we could all eat together as a family, but I suppose it means more time alone with you. Come, dinner's ready." The dining room table was set beautifully. Candles flickered in silver holders. The good china was out. The plates his mother had brought back from a trip to Europe years ago. Wine glasses stood ready, already filled with red wine. And in the center of it all, platters of food that made Kofi's stomach turn, despite looking delicious. Jollof rice, perfectly seasoned and fragrant. Fried plantains, golden and sweet. Grilled fish with pepper sauce. All his favorites, all prepared by the woman who wanted him dead. "Sit, sit," Amar urged, pulling out his chair for him. "I worked all afternoon on this meal. I wanted everything to be perfect for your first night home." Kofi sat, hyper-aware of the cameras watching from hidden positions around the room. Zainab and her team would be seeing everything, recording everything. He just needed to get Amar to reveal herself, to make her show her true intentions. "Wine?" Amara asked, reaching for his glass. "Actually, I'm not very thirsty right now," Kofi said. "All that air conditioning in the car and the office. I think I'll wait until I've had some food first." "Of course." Amar set the glass down, but not before Kofi caught a flash of annoyance in her eyes. She'd wanted him to drink the wine, which meant there was probably something in it. She began serving food onto his plate. Rice, fish, plantains. Her movements were graceful, practiced. "I've been thinking," she said as she served. "Now that you're back, maybe we should take a vacation. Just the two of us. Somewhere romantic. The Seychelles, maybe, or Zanzibar. We could spend a week on the beach, no work, no stress, just us." "That sounds wonderful," Kofi said, though he knew what she was really suggesting. Get him alone, far from home. Far from anyone who knew him. Make it easier to stage an accident. A drowning, a fall, something that couldn't be traced back to her. "I'm so glad you agree." Amara sat down across from him, her own plate barely filled. She wasn't eating much, he noticed. Was she planning to claim she'd eaten earlier? To avoid consuming whatever poison she'd put in his food? Kofi picked up his fork and pushed some rice around his plate. Actually, now that I think about it, I grabbed something at the office. Marcus ordered in Thai food. I'm not as hungry as I thought. Amara's smile tightened. But darling, I worked so hard on this dinner. Surely you can eat a little bit? For me? There was an edge to her voice now, a hardness that hadn't been there before. She was getting impatient. Her plan required him to eat the food or drink the wine. Without that, she couldn't proceed. Of course, Kofi said. He picked up a small piece of plantain with his fork. I can always make room for your cooking. He brought the fork to his mouth, watching Amara's face. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes fixed on him with an intensity that was almost predatory. This was it. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. Kofi's phone rang, loud and shrill in the quiet dining room. Amara jumped, startled. Don't answer it, she said quickly. Please, Kofi, this is our time together. Let it go to voicemail. But Kofi was already pulling out his phone. It was Marcus, right on cue. They'd planned this. I'm sorry, love, but I have to take this. It's about the Lagos project. 2 seconds. He stood and walked toward the living room, the fork still in his hand. As soon as he was out of Amara's line of sight, he scraped the food into a napkin he'd tucked in his pocket and flushed it down the bathroom toilet. Then he answered the phone. Are you seeing this? Marcus asked without preamble. Seeing what? The cameras picked up something. Kofi, she put something in your wine glass before you came home. Zainab's team got it on video. She was crushing pills into powder and stirring it into the wine. We sent the footage to a toxicologist contact. He says based on the appearance and her behavior, it's likely a sedative, something to knock you out. Kofi's grip tightened on the phone. And then what? What was she planning to do once I was unconscious? We don't know yet. But Kofi, this is it. This is the proof we need. She's trying to drug you. That's attempted murder, or at minimum, assault with intent. We can go to the police right now with this footage. But Kofi shook his head, even though Marcus couldn't see him. It's not enough. A good lawyer will say she was trying to help me sleep, that I'd been stressed about work, that she had no malicious intent. We need her to do more. We need her to actually try to kill me. Are you insane? Kofi, you can't. Trust me. Just keep recording. Whatever happens next, make sure you get it all on camera. Kofi hung up and returned to the dining room. Amara was still sitting at the table, but her posture had changed. She was tense now, coiled like a snake ready to strike. Everything okay with work? She asked. Fine. Just a minor issue. Kofi sat back down and picked up his wine glass. You know what? I think I will have that drink after all. A toast. To being home. To my beautiful wife. To our future together. Amara's eyes lit up. To our future, she echoed, raising her own glass. Kofi brought the wine to his lips, tilted the glass, and pretended to drink. The wine touched his lips but didn't enter his mouth. He'd practiced this in the car, making the motion look natural while actually consuming nothing. It was a trick his brother had taught him years ago, back when they were teenagers trying to fool their mother about drinking at parties. The memory of Chidi hit Kofi like a physical blow. His brother had been so full of life, so full of plans and dreams, and this woman sitting across from him, smiling so sweetly, had stolen all of that, had murdered him and made it look like an accident. Rage burned in Kofi's chest, hot and fierce, but he kept it hidden behind a smile. The wine is excellent, he said. What is it? A Bordeaux from France. I thought you'd like it. Amara was watching him carefully, waiting for the drugs to take effect. Kofi made a show of feeling tired. He let his eyelids droop. He slurred his words just slightly. I think that long flight is finally catching up with me, and this wine is strong. Why don't you lie down? Amara suggested, standing up. Come on, let me help you to the bedroom. You can rest. She took his arm, guiding him up the stairs. Kofi let himself lean on her, pretending to stumble. His heart was racing, but he kept his breathing slow and steady. Whatever she was planning, it was about to happen. They reached the bedroom. Amara led him to the bed, and Kofi collapsed onto it, his eyes falling shut. He let his body go limp, his breathing deep and even like he was unconscious. He heard Amara's footsteps moving around the room, heard drawers opening and closing. Then silence. Then the smell of gasoline hit his nostrils. His eyes snapped open just in time to see Amara pouring gasoline from a red canister onto the curtains, the carpet, the furniture. She moved efficiently, methodically, like she'd done this before. Because she had. She'd burned Kenneth Okonkwo alive in his house 8 years ago. Now she was going to do the same to Kofi. "I know you're awake," Amara said without turning around. Her voice was different now, colder, all pretense of sweetness gone. "The wine didn't work, did it? You didn't actually drink it. Clever boy." She turned to face him, and Kofi saw a stranger. This wasn't his wife. This was a predator who'd been wearing his wife's face like a mask. "I knew you were on to me," she continued. "I saw it in your eyes after the lake. You knew I'd tried to kill your mother, so I had to accelerate my plans." "Why?" Kofi asked, sitting up slowly. His hand moved to his pocket, fingers closing around the vial Zainab had given him, though he wasn't sure what good it would do against fire. "Why did you kill my brother? Why did you marry me? Why any of this?" Amara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Because I can. Because men like you and Chidi, men with money and power and privilege, you think you're untouchable. You think you can have anything you want. Well, so can I. I've made millions doing this, marrying wealthy men, taking everything they have, and moving on. It's the perfect crime. No one ever suspects the grieving widow." "How many?" Kofi demanded. "How many men have you killed?" "You'll be number 7, Amara said casually, like she was discussing the weather. "Though you and Chidi were special. A 2-for-1 deal. Same family, same fortune, twice the payout. I was actually engaged to Chidi when he found out about my past. He discovered I'd been married before, that my previous husband had died under suspicious circumstances. He was going to go to the police. So I killed him. Made it look like a car accident. So easy." She emptied the last of the gasoline onto the bed, inches from where Kofi sat. "Then I waited, let enough time pass, reinvented myself, and came back for you. The younger brother who inherited everything. The grief-stricken man looking for love. You made it so easy, Kofi. You wanted so badly to believe I loved you." "And Emmanuel?" Kofi asked. "Your son with Chidi?" For the first time, real emotion crossed Amara's face. "My son is none of your business. He's safe. He's provided for. That's all that matters." She pulled out a lighter from her pocket. "I'm sorry it has to end this way. You're actually less terrible than most of the men I've killed. But business is business, and your life insurance policy is worth $10 million. That's too much money to pass up." "You won't get away with this," Kofi said. His fingers found the button on his watch, the panic signal that would bring Zainab's team running. But he needed Amara to keep talking. Needed her to confess everything on camera. "People know. My mother knows. Marcus knows. Even if you kill me, they'll tell the police everything." "Your mother will be dead within the week," Amara said coldly. "I have plans for her. As for Marcus, it'll be his word against mine. The grieving widow whose husband died in a tragic house fire. Who would suspect me? I'm the victim here." She flicked the lighter and a small flame appeared. "Goodbye, Kofi. I'd say it's been fun, but honestly, you were a bit boring. Your brother was more interesting." She dropped the lighter onto the gasoline-soaked carpet. The fire exploded to life, spreading faster than Kofi would have thought possible. Flames raced up the curtains, across the floor, consuming everything they touched. The heat was immediate and intense, stealing the oxygen from the room. Amara backed toward the door, watching the flames with satisfaction. "Malaria!" Kofi shouted, giving the code word. But his voice was drowned out by the roar of the fire. Then the bedroom door burst open. But it wasn't Zainab's security team. It was Mama Essie, holding a fire extinguisher. And she wasn't alone. Standing behind her was a young man who looked exactly like Chidi. Same eyes, same face, same height and build. For a wild moment, Kofi thought he was hallucinating from smoke inhalation. His brother couldn't be here. His brother was dead. "Hello, Amara," the young man said. "Remember me?" Amara's face went white. "You're dead. You died. I killed you." "You killed someone," the young man agreed. "But it wasn't me." "Have you ever seen a plan fall apart so completely? What do you think is happening right now? Who is this young man who looks exactly like Chidi? Drop your comments and theories below because you're not going to believe the truth. If you're invested in this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every secret, every lie, every shocking twist. Share this with everyone you know because this ending is going to be absolutely insane. Mama Essie sprayed the fire extinguisher with practiced efficiency, dousing the flames before they could spread beyond the bedroom. White foam covered the carpet, the curtains, the bed. Within seconds, the fire was out, leaving only smoke and the acrid smell of gasoline and chemicals. Kofi stumbled away from the bed, coughing, his eyes streaming. Through the smoke, he stared at the young man who looked like his brother's ghost. "Who are you?" "My name is Emmanuel," the young man said. "I'm Chidi's son, and I'm here to make sure my mother finally pays for what she did." Amara backed against the wall, her face a mask of confusion and fear. "But you're just a child. You're 6 years old. I saw you last week." "That's my half-brother, David Jr., Emmanuel said coldly. "My mother's son with David Okolie, the lawyer she's been sleeping with, the man she planned to run away with once she collected your life insurance, Kofi. I'm 21 years old. I've been searching for my father's killer for 7 years, and I finally found her." Zainab and her security team burst into the room, weapons drawn. They assessed the situation quickly, their eyes moving from the extinguished fire to Amara backed against the wall. "Everyone stay exactly where you are," Zainab commanded. Marcus appeared behind them, breathing hard like he'd been running. "The police are on their way. We've got everything on camera. The gasoline, the confession, everything." Amara's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape route that didn't exist. "This is a setup. You're all conspiring against me. I'm the victim here. My husband went crazy, attacked me, tried to kill us both. That's what happened." "Is that what happened?" Emmanuel pulled out his phone and played a video. It showed Amara buying gasoline at a station 3 hours ago. Another video showed her searching online for how to stage an accidental house fire. Another showed her at David Okolie's house, planning Kofi's murder in explicit detail. "I've been following you for 2 years," Emmanuel said. "Ever since I found out you were married to my father's brother. I knew you'd try again. Women like you always do. You're a predator. A black widow who kills for money. But it ends tonight." Mama Essie moved to stand beside her son, wrapping her arm around Kofi's waist. "I didn't stay at the office," she explained. "I couldn't leave you alone with her. When Emmanuel contacted me 3 weeks ago, told me who he was, and what he'd discovered about his father's death, everything finally made sense. We've been working together to catch her." "You knew?" Kofi looked at his mother in shock. "You knew all along and didn't tell me?" "I couldn't risk her finding out we were on to her," Mama Essie said gently. "If she'd known, she would have disappeared. We needed her to make her move, to confess, to give us proof that would hold up in court. Emmanuel has spent years gathering evidence. Deaths that look like accidents, insurance policies, bank accounts in different names. She's not just a killer, Kofi. She's a serial killer who's been operating for over a decade." Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Amara slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, her red dress stained with soot and foam. All the fight had drained out of her. She looked small now, defeated, nothing like the confident woman who'd set his bedroom on fire minutes ago. "I loved him," she said quietly, looking at Emmanuel. "I loved your father. That's the truth. I was going to stop after him. We were going to get married, have a life together. But he found out about Kenneth. He looked at me like I was a monster. He said he was going to turn me in. What was I supposed to do?" "Not kill him," Emmanuel said, his voice breaking. "You were supposed to not kill my father. I was 3 years old when you murdered him." 3? Do you know what it's like growing up without a father because your mother is a psychopath? "I'm not a psychopath," Amara protested weakly. "I'm just trying to survive. The world isn't fair to women like me. Women with nothing, no family, no money, no opportunities. I learned to take what I needed." "By killing innocent people?" Kofi's voice was raw with emotion. "My brother was a good man. He would have helped you. We would have helped you. You didn't have to kill anyone." "You don't understand," Amara said. None of you understand. Once you start, you can't stop. It becomes who you are. And the money, the lifestyle, the power, it's addictive. Each time gets easier. Each time you tell yourself it's the last time, but it never is. The police arrived, flooding into the house with Detective Okafor leading the team. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who'd seen every kind of crime Lagos had to offer. She took one look at the scene, the gasoline cans, the burned carpet, the cameras mounted on the walls, and nodded slowly. "Mrs. Amara Adeyemi," she said formally, "you're under arrest for attempted murder, arson, and suspicion of multiple homicides. You have the right to remain silent." As the officers handcuffed Amara and read her rights, she looked at Kofi one last time. "I did love you," she said. "In my own way. That wasn't all fake." "Yes, it was," Kofi replied. "Love doesn't come with a body count." They led her away, and suddenly the house was full of police officers, forensic teams, photographers documenting everything. Kofi felt exhausted, drained, like he'd aged 10 years in one night. His mother guided him downstairs, away from the chaos to the living room where they'd shared so many happy memories before Amara had poisoned everything. Emmanuel followed them, looking uncertain now that the confrontation was over. Up close, Kofi could see the differences between Emmanuel and Chidi. Emmanuel was slightly shorter, his face a bit rounder, but the eyes were the same, his father's eyes. "Thank you," Kofi said, extending his hand, "for finding the truth, for protecting us, for giving my brother justice." Emmanuel shook his hand, tears streaming down his face. "He was a good father. For the 3 years I knew him, he was the best father a kid could ask for. I just wanted people to know that he didn't die in some random accident, that his life mattered, that he was murdered." "It mattered," Mama Essie said, pulling Emmanuel into a hug. "Your father mattered very much, and so do you. You're Chidi's son. That makes you family. Our family." Over the next few hours, the full scope of Amara's crimes emerged. Detective Okafor found evidence of 7 murders spanning 12 years. Kenneth Okonkwo, the businessman who died in a fire. 2 other men whose deaths had been ruled accidental. A wealthy trader who'd had a fatal allergic reaction. A lawyer who drowned on what should have been a safe beach. Chidi, and now the attempted murder of Kofi. David Okolia, Amara's lawyer boyfriend and accomplice, was arrested at his home. He'd been helping her move money, forge documents, and plan murders. In exchange, she'd promised him a cut of the insurance money and a life together once Kofi was dead. He confessed everything within an hour, trying to make a deal. The 6-year-old boy, David Jr., was placed in protective custody. He was innocent in all this, a child caught in his mother's web of lies. Emmanuel volunteered to take custody of his half-brother to give the boy a chance at a normal life away from the toxicity of their mother. As dawn broke over Lagos, Kofi stood on his balcony watching the sun rise over the city. The bedroom where Amara had tried to burn him alive was sealed off as a crime scene. The smell of smoke still lingered in the air. But he was alive. His mother was alive. And the woman who'd killed his brother was finally going to face justice. Marcus joined him on the balcony, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "The press is going crazy," he said. "Serial killer socialite captured. Black widow arrested. It's going to be the story of the year." "I don't care about the press," Kofi said. "I just want it to be over." "It will be." Detective Okafor says with all the evidence Emmanuel gathered, plus the video footage from last night, Amara's going to prison for life. Multiple life sentences, probably. She'll never hurt anyone again. Kofi sipped his coffee, feeling the warmth spread through his chest. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. The way she always had an explanation for everything. The way she isolated me from my friends and family. The way she constantly talked about insurance and wills and making sure we were financially prepared for any tragedy. She was good at what she did," Marcus said. "That's why she got away with it for so long. But she made one mistake. She underestimated how much a mother loves her son and how far that son will go to protect his mother." Mama Essie appeared in the doorway, looking tired but relieved. "The police want us to come to the station this afternoon to give formal statements. But for now, they said we should rest." "I don't think I can sleep," Kofi admitted. "Then don't. Come sit with me. Let's talk about Chidi. Let's remember the good times before all this darkness. Let's remember who he really was. They spent the morning doing exactly that, sharing stories, looking at old photos, laughing through tears. Emmanuel joined them, hungry for stories about the father he'd barely known. Mama AC told him about Chidi's first day of school, his first girlfriend, his dreams of becoming an architect like Kofi. He was so proud when you graduated, Mama Issy told Kofi. He told everyone his little brother was going to design the most beautiful buildings in all of Africa. He believed in you so much. I wish he was here, Kofi said softly. I wish I could tell him I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't figure out sooner what happened to him. Sorry I let his killer into our family. Sorry I married the woman who murdered him. You didn't know, Emmanuel said. None of us knew. She fooled everyone. But now she'll pay, and my father can finally rest in peace. 3 months later, Kofi stood in a courtroom watching Amara receive 7 life sentences without the possibility of parole. She showed no emotion as the judge read the verdicts, her face blank and empty. The woman who'd pretended to love him, who'd shared his bed and his life, was gone. In her place was a shell, a hollow thing that had lost its power to deceive. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but Kofi ignored them all. He had his mother on one side and Emmanuel on the other, his real family, the people who'd risked everything to save him. What now? Emmanuel asked. Now we rebuild, Kofi said. We heal. We move forward. Together. He thought about the man he'd been 3 months ago. Successful, wealthy, but alone in ways he hadn't understood. He'd thought having money and a beautiful wife meant he had everything. But he'd been living a lie, surrounded by false love and empty luxury. Now he had something real. A family that had proven their love through action. A nephew who'd spent years seeking justice. A mother who'd never stopped protecting him. These were the things that mattered. These were the things worth living for. As they walked away from the courthouse, Kofi made himself a promise. He would never again confuse success with happiness. He would never again let pride blind him to the truth. He would never again take his mother's love for granted. And he would spend the rest of his life making sure that Chidi's son, Emmanuel, knew that he was loved, wanted, and valued. That he was part of a family that would never abandon him. Because that's what real family did. They stood together. They protected each other. They loved each other through the darkness until light broke through again. The billionaire who'd almost lost everything had learned the most important lesson of all. The only wealth that truly matters is the love of the people who would die to save you, and the strength to save them in return. This story shows us that evil can hide behind the most beautiful faces, and that justice sometimes takes years, but always comes eventually. What did you think of this ending? Were you surprised by the twists? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, if it made you think about trust and betrayal and family, then hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We bring you powerful stories like this every week. Share this video with someone who loves mysteries with deep moral lessons. And remember, in a world full of deception, the truth always finds a way to surface. Thank you for watching, and never forget to cherish the people who truly love you, because they're the real treasure in life.